Today we're going to be looking at AQA Language Paper 2, specifically questions 1 and 2. Do not worry if you're not AQA, because whether you're Edexcel or OCR, the skills that you're assessed for in the language paper generally are very similar. So it's probably still helpful for you to carry on watching, practice the skills, and then apply it to your papers. There are a few things to remember before we start looking at question 1 and 2. Let me give you an overview of the paper. So get a pen and paper and start making notes. This paper is 1 hour, 45 minutes long. Paper 2 has 2 extracts. Paper 2, 2 extracts that you have to read. So we've got source A and we've got source B. Generally, you spend 15 minutes reading time, and then you spend a minute per mark in the questions. So if question 1 is worth 4 marks, you're going to spend 4 to 5 minutes on it. If question 2 is 8 marks, you're going to spend 8 to 10 minutes on it maximum, and so on. I cannot stress enough how important it is to stick to timings. The biggest thing that goes wrong for students in the language papers is that they run out of time, and they spend so long trying to get question 2 and question 3 perfect that they end up rushing and running out of time for question 4 and question 5. And they're the big markers. Like question 5 is worth half the marks of the whole paper. So you don't want to do that. You've got to stick to timings religiously. Even if you haven't finished a question, you move on if the time's up. There are 4 questions in the reading section, and in the writing section, there is only 1 in this paper. You don't get a choice in language paper 2. So in total, you are answering 5 questions. 4 are about the extracts that you read, and 1 is a piece of creative writing. Today, we are going to look at question 1 and question 2 from the reading section. A lot of people panic because they are worried they're not going to understand the extracts. That is fine. That just means you're normal, because I worry I won't understand the extracts, especially in paper 2. One of the extracts is going to be like an olden days extract, which is obviously trickier to understand. But I always say this: no one, I promise you, is expecting you to understand every single word and every single line. You don't need to understand every single line. As long as you can summarize what is happening in each paragraph, as long as you understand the gist of what's going on, you're fine. You'll be able to access this paper. Now let's practice reading together. Remember, in the real exam, read the extracts twice. Trust me, when you're in there and you are nervous and you're sweating and you're shaking, the first time you read it, it's just words. It doesn't even go in properly, and you end up missing lots of important information. And the second time you read it, maybe stop after each paragraph and just jot down a couple of words of what's happening in each paragraph. It's not going to take ages. I literally mean just jot down a couple of words. We call that active reading. And it just helps to make sure that you haven't missed out on any important information. Here is a source A to try question 1 with. I've shortened it slightly from the original from the exam for the purpose of this video. Source A. The following newspaper article was written by Tanith Carey, a parenting expert, in response to the Channel 4 program Child Genius. Cruelest reality TV show ever. At the tender age of 8, Tudor Mendel Idowu has been picked to play soccer for no fewer than 3 Premier League junior teams: QPR, Tottenham, and Chelsea. This achievement alone would be enough to make most fathers' hearts burst with pride. But, unfortunately for Tudor, he appears to have a very long way to go before he meets the sky-high expectations of his demanding dad, Tolu. So far, the most heart-rending scenes on Channel 4's Sunday night reality series Child Genius, in which 20 gifted children are subjected to a terrifying barrage of tests, have been the sight of this small boy hiding his face in his hands as he weeps. The reason? He has not scored as well as his father tells him he should have done. Yet rather than commiserate with his son after a disappointing performance, It is Tolu who declares that he finds the contest emotionally draining. He then tells Tudor, maybe you're not as good as we thought. One worried viewer pointed out on Mumsnet the series would more aptly be named Lunatic Parents, for it is really all about the eagle dads and tiger mums who want to show off how much work they have invested into their youngsters. Of course, the goal of reality TV is to entertain, but should dramatic storylines really come ahead of a child's emotional well-being? But for me, one question remains. How much longer are we going to allow Channel 4 to encourage extreme parents to push their helpless children to breaking point in the name of entertainment? The beauty of the language paper is that you always know what questions are going to come up. The questions never change. It's just the extracts that change. So, question 1 for paper 2 will always be, choose 4 statements below which are true. So it's a 4-mark question, which means we have a maximum of 5 minutes to answer. For this paper in particular, the exact question is, read again source A, cruelest reality TV show ever, from lines 1 to 19. Choose 4 statements below which are true. This is slightly different from paper 1 because you don't actually have to find and select quotations yourself this time. They have given you the statements. It's like multiple choice, which technically is easier. But I have taught this paper for many years and there are a few things that I see go wrong all the time. Be careful of line numbers. I know it sounds obvious and I know you're thinking that's not going to be you, but trust me, even the most grade 9 of students, when you're in the exam and you're nervous and you're rushing, it's very easy to just skip over line numbers and take your answer from the wrong lines by accident. So please be careful. The easiest way to avoid this from happening is quickly draw a box, maybe in a different colored pen, around the lines they've given you, and then you're just always going to make sure you stick in that box. Don't select 5 answers that you think are true. And don't select 3 answers because you couldn't think of a 4th one. Make sure you give 4. You're looking for 4. The statements they give you are probably going to follow a chronological order. So the answer to whether statement A is true or false should probably be near the start of the extract. And the answer to whether H is true or false should probably be near the end of the extract. Keeping all of that in mind, let's have a look at our statements. A. Tudor has been picked to play soccer for 3 Premier League junior teams. B. Tolu's heart is bursting with pride at his son's achievements. C. Child Genius is a TV program on Channel 3. D. Tudor hides his face in his hands as he weeps. E. Tudor does not score as well as his father thinks he should. F. Tolu sympathizes with Tudor over his disappointing performance. G. Tudor finds the contest emotionally draining. H. Tudor may not be as good as his father thought. Let's go through these statements one by one. We are not going to use our memories. We're not just going to try and remember the extract and just select 4. You don't want to lose easy marks. We're going to go back to the extract and we're going to actually find the bit which tells us whether the statement is true or false. Sometimes you might think something seems true, but they're tricking you by swapping like a word or something, so you've got to be careful. A. Tudor has been picked to play soccer for 3 Premier League junior teams. So if I go back to the extract, it says, Tudor has been picked to play soccer for no fewer than 3 Premier League junior teams, QPR, Tottenham, Chelsea. That is true. I'm sure of it. I found the evidence. B. Tolu's heart is bursting with pride at his son's achievements. Let's go to the extract. It says, this achievement alone would be enough to make most fathers' hearts burst with pride. But, unfortunately for Tudor, he appears to have a very long way to go before he meets the sky-high expectations of his demanding dad, Tolu. So that is false. Most fathers would be proud, but not Tolu. C. Child Genius is a TV program on Channel 3. Go back to the extract. It says, The most heartrending scenes on Channel 4's Sunday night reality series. False. It's Channel 4, it's not Channel 3. D. Tudor hides his face in his hands as he weeps. It says, the sight of this small boy hiding his face in his hands as he weeps. Definitely true. Got that. E. Tudor does not score as well as his father thinks he should. Says, he has not scored as well as his father tells him he should have done. True. Nearly there. F. Tolu sympathizes with Tudor over his disappointing performance. So in the extract, if I look, how does he feel after a disappointing performance? Let me find those words. It says, yet rather than commiserate with his son after a disappointing performance, it is Tolu who declares that he finds the contest emotionally draining. So that is false. There's no sympathy. G. Tudor finds the contest emotionally draining. That is false because Tolu says he finds it emotionally draining. Do you see what they did there? They tried to catch me out. They swapped the name and they thought I wouldn't notice. But I did. H. Tudor may not be as good as his father thought. It says, maybe you're not as good as we thought. True. I have my 4 statements. Easy peasy. That is my first 4 marks in the bag. Question 2 will always be a summary of differences or a summary of similarities. In this paper, the exact question looks like this. You need to refer to the whole of source A and source B for this question. Use details from both sources. That means use quotations from both sources. Write a summary of the different ways to raise a child who is clever. 8 marks. Okay, so I need quotations from both sources. I'm writing a summary comparing how to raise a child who is clever. All right, let's read source B. Now this is the olden days one, so it is going to be a little bit harder for you to follow, but let's read through it. Pause the video if you need to so it sinks in. Source B. The following newspaper article was written in the 19th century. It also offers views on how to raise children. It is a mistake to think that children love the parents less who maintain a proper authority over them. On the contrary, they respect them more. It is a cruel and unnatural selfishness that indulges children in a foolish and hurtful way. Parents are guides and counselors to their children. As a guide in a foreign land, they undertake to pilot them safely through the shoals and quicksands of inexperience. If the guide allows his followers all the freedom they please, if because they dislike the constraint of the narrow path of safety, he allows them to stray into holes and precipices that destroy them, to quench their thirst in brooks that poison them, to loiter in woods full of wild beasts of deadly herbs, can he be called a sure guide? And is it not the same with our children? They are as yet only in the preface, or as it were, in the first chapter of the book of life. We have nearly finished it, or are far advanced. We must open the pages for these younger minds. If children see that their parents act from principle, that they do not find fault without reason, that they do not punish because personal offense is taken, but because the thing in itself is wrong. If they see that while they are resolutely but affectionately refused what is not good for them, there is a willingness to oblige them in all innocent matters, they will soon appreciate such conduct. If no attention is paid to the rational wishes, if no allowance is made for youthful spirits, if they are dealt with in a hard and unsympathizing manner, the proud spirit will rebel and the meek spirit be broken. A pert or improper way of speaking ought never to be allowed. Clever children are very apt to be pert, and if too much admired for it and laughed at, become eccentric and disagreeable. It is often very difficult to check our own amusement, but their future welfare should be regarded more than our present entertainment. It should never be forgotten that they are tender plants committed to our fostering care, that every thoughtless word or careless neglect may destroy a germ of immortality. The question is an 8 marker, so we are spending a maximum of 10 minutes here, maximum. And in those 10 minutes, we are going to write 2 paragraphs. One about how the parents raise clever children in source A, and one about how parents raise clever children in source B. I am a Victorian parent. I agree with that second article. This is a summary question. Summary being the key word. There is no language analysis here. We actually need to keep our explanations as short as possible. So let's think. In source A, how do those parents raise their clever children? Are they laid back and cool? No, they are strict. So I'm going to give you a template that I want you to copy down for this answer. I'm going to show you how to write these 2 paragraphs, and you can use the same sentence starters when you are practicing another paper. In source A, we learn that the way to raise a clever child is by being strict and pressurizing, sky-high expectations of his demanding dad. Here, the hyperbole shows. No, this is no analysis, no hyperbole. This is a summary question. So we're going to cross that out and we are going to try that again. In source A, we learn that the way to raise a clever child is by being strict and pressurizing. Sky-high expectations of his demanding dad. This suggests that parents are only interested in how well their helpless children do in exams and don't think about the effect on their children's emotional well-being, as long as they are outperforming others academically. However, in source B, we learn that parents should be firm but fair in the way they raise a clever child. Parents are guides and counselors to their children. This suggests parents should support and be role models to their children, who are sensitive like tender plants and may be crushed if they are dealt with in a hard and unsympathizing manner. Let's just break down what I've done there in those 2 paragraphs. I have written a point that answers the question using words from the question. I then selected a quotation that does not have to be juicy. It doesn't need to have language devices in there because we're not going to analyze it. Summary. I've then written a short explanation. It's only literally like 1 or 2 sentences long. But in that explanation, I did something really clever. I embedded 2 more quotations in there. Then my second paragraph starts with a comparing word like similarly or in contrast, because I am comparing 2 sources in this question. And that's it. That's all of it. That's language paper 2, question 1 and question 2. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a like. Go away and practice this now in another paper, and then don't forget to check out the rest of the videos in this series.